All right, everybody, welcome back to the Xavier Klein series here on Madden 24. We are now heading into the 2025 offseason as the Super Bowl champions. This Chargers group has done so much, and I think we got the right players to keep us moving here. However, we have to take into account that we have about $16.7 million in cap space. We have 18 players that are currently up for negotiation. If we cannot fill these positions, we will be down to 49 players. So we have to take that into account. And this is where we may have to consider some things coming up in this off season. Trading will be available after the re-sign period. So this is where we still have to take into account, are there any players we would like to cut now to ensure the ability to sign the players that we would like? My thoughts are probably not. There's just no possible way here. I think when it comes down to it, we're probably going to have to kick the can down the road on some of these players here. If we were to, for example, open up some cap space here, it will give us $7.79 million. Now here's my issue with it. Like with someone like Derwin James, if we were to kick the can down the road like that, you are talking about not much space at all. So that's 7.78 here, not during the re-sign. I don't think it's going to count until the re-sign period is over. So we're in a little bit of a tough spot here, a little bit of a pickle, right? We got players like Rashawn Slater and Joey Bosa, right? These are players here that are crucial to the overall performance of this team. However, Rashawn Slater, man, we're in trouble. This team has some cap issues here that we're gonna have to think about as we move forward. Or there may be some players we have to decide to move on from, like for example a Connor Williams. It's not gonna be easy. We have to remember that it's about the overall development of this team, but we did spend quite a bit of money to bring in certain guys, man, like a Robert Hunt and a Connor Williams to keep this O-line intact. So we're gonna have to remember to kind of build up that overall O-line for the long haul. But there are some players, man, that we might have to say goodbye to ensure that we have a little bit of cap space moving forward. I don't want to move any of these guys yet, because I think from a development standpoint, some of them were pretty clean. Maybe someone like Jamari Thrash, he's not that incredible for us, and we could probably save 890. See, these are all like little hits and stuff that we can do. So before we move forward, let's check to see who's currently up for the re-sign situation here. So with 17 million, you got big players like Mike Williams, Asante Samuel, Zion Johnson. You got Khalil Mack, Yetur Matos, Marcus Davenport. You got Mike Edwards out there. You got Donald Parham, Nick Neiman, Morgan Fox. These are some really decent players here that could really help us out for the long haul. But when it comes down to it, we have to think about some crucial players here. And I think what we're going to do first is for Zion Johnson, we don't have to worry about him. We just accept his fifth-year option. That's an easy one right there. The guy's a 77 overall star dev. He's only going to cost us $9 million for his fifth year. Next season, that's a steal. Asante Samuel is the big deal. If we were to sign him for what he wants, which it looks like that's what he wants to do, it will cost us it's going to probably cost us about 13 mil a year, which is honestly not that bad for a guy like him. He's given us a deep discount mainly because we play in a big market. We got, highest values, financials. We got a high, with the home field games that we had during the playoffs, like we're pretty set there. So what I'd like to do here is sign Asante Samuel to a bigger deal, but with that deal, my hope is I can give him a little bit more money, and maybe that will a little bit more guaranteed money. Maybe that will entice him more here. This will be about a $65 million deal. I think that's fair. I think like 13.5. Technically, Samuel's probably close to a like $18 million team player. Madden doesn't really take that into account. I think 14.5 probably as good as we need to do here. So we're gonna sign him to a 5-year deal because I think he's only gonna get better, and I think this is gonna set up this team great for the future. So Asante Samuel accepts the deal, but when that happens, that leaves us with $4.5 million. That means certain players like Mike Williams and Khalil Mack will not come back to the Chargers until the offseason if we decide to maybe move some money around. Guido Gross Matos, another guy, he's asking for a ton of money. A little over 11, we won't be able to bring him back. Marcus Davenport asking about $4 million. That would pretty much soak up the entire amount of what we're trying to do. $5 million a year for Donald Parham, same thing. So I think, you know, I gotta look at being a little smart here. Kenny Robinson could be a decent player. I think he played pretty good for us at free safety. My only concern is we do got JT Woods for another year. So rather than trying to sign him, I think we might have to move on. The other player I'm considering right now is Michael Dieter. He's looking at us as a league favorite. So I'm wondering if we were to give him a little bit less, so 1.5, would he accept it? So he will not. He's not willing to take the discount to come back to us. Eric Kendricks would be very nice. Now he's a 73 overall player, and when I look at a guy like Eric Kendricks, I have to consider, you know, what's going to happen for the long haul. Now his motivation shows that he's a mentor. So I think what we can do is have Deion Henley grow with him, or bring in another one as well, another middle linebacker. So I think that's what we're going to do. Kendricks is a good player. He's asking for $3.73 million. I'm wondering if we were to give him like this, would that help us? That would be 3.7. So I wonder if we can give him 3.5. 3.5. Would that work out for us? That leaves us with the mill left. So Eric Kendricks is going to come back. He's a good mentor. Like I said, it'll really help us out for the overall development of our squad here. As far as anybody else, there really isn't much. So we really can't do anything too crazy anymore from a signing standpoint. But being able to grab somebody like a Asante Samuel was key for foundational pieces of the team. Some of these other guys like Mike Williams and Khalil Mack, maybe we can bring them back after we make a huge move in this offseason, which I'm definitely interested in, depending on what free agents are out there. Or this may be a very quick free agent portion of this episode. But there are some decent players here. Unfortunately, we just don't have the cap to do it, and I'm going to have to figure out how to finesse some of the pieces there to kind of see what we can do. But it'll hurt us, because I look at somebody like a Robert Hunt or Connor Williams, we'd have to think about what would we do with that. If we were to trade that veteran there along with another big veteran, that would free up the cap space for this team for the future. But that also means you're going to have to try to invest in some pieces there to ensure the security of that position. So the positive is, you know, we do got some okay guys on the team, but I have to think about the future now of trying to sustain a potential successful franchise for the Chargers here. So we're going to go ahead and advance it to the stage 1 and, you know, see if we can do anything better here with what we got. So here's what we have in the free agent market. There's got to be some pretty decent guys out there, right? From a quarterback standpoint, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, Sam Darnold, they're all out here. They want to play. Jameis Winston, Zach Wilson, they all want to be heading to a pretty decent squad. So there's some backups there. As far as running backs, you know, this is something we have to think about, because, you know, Rasheen Ali played okay. Spiller, I think, has got another year with us. And then we got Tyler Algier. My concern is the injuries that we encountered with Algier at the very end. So if we were to bring somebody back, you know, could we get a decent discount for it? I'm not quite sure. As far as wide receivers are concerned, Amari Cooper's out there. You got Mike Williams wants to play for us. It looks like a ton of players want Rondale Moore Elijah Moore. These are guys that would love to play for the Los Angeles Chargers. And it makes sense, you know, when you win a Super Bowl, that draws the people to want to come here. So when I see this is potential discounts we can get. So I look at somebody like Odell Beckham Jr. Imagine bringing him here for a discount and having him kind of mentor the young group that we got in Tez Walker, Brock Bowers, Quentin Johnston, and Xavier Worthy. Like that's a good group that would love to learn from someone like Odell. Now granted, Bowers isn't gonna get the mentor, but that's the way I kind of look at it. It's like having these veterans here could really work out for us. With no Donald Parham, we have to think about, you know, bringing in some other tight ends. Peyton Hendershot coming over from the team that we went against in the Dallas Cowboys. That could be a little bit of an advantage that we can take there. But, you know, we got to work through that one. There are some tackles out there because there's something I was thinking about trying out. Considering Slater was hurt quite a bit, what if we brought in somebody to hold it down for a little bit? Now, we do got Jonah Williams for one more year. Could we rely on Jonah for the rest of that one if we decided to make a crazy, bold move? Maybe. But I think, you know, there's some guys here like a Dan Moore that I'd be okay with. But you're talking about giving up a huge staple at a tackle position. That'd be kind of rough to try out. With Zion Johnson there, and we got, I think it's like Schefter there, or Schrader, one of our left guard rookie, or on a rookie contract. I think we're clean here. I don't really need to do that yet. The center spot with Connor Williams, this is where I'm like, man, do we draft a center and bring in somebody like a Cole Shelton for now? Or do we roll with it? You know, Robert Hunt was a huge factor for us, but he was injured towards the end of the year. So, you know, do we try to work through that? Pipkins, it has one more year on the contract. We could have the potential to cut him and move Jonah to right tackle. That might be something to think about. But there's some pretty decent players here. This would be kind of clean, right? You bring in someone like a DeMarcus Lawrence to be on this team. That would be insane. You got Zadarius Smith also on this offseason free agency too, man. Oh, there's some Manuel Ogba, Zadarius Smith. There's some guys that we could bring in that could definitely fill some spots. You know, we got Tavondre Sweat. We got Tyler Tart for, I think, at least another year. So the interior, I think, is in an okay spot. But with the right end, you know, I see some guys here, man. Leonard Floyd, Jadeveon Clowney, Charles Omenihu, Charles Harris, dude, Yannick Ngakoue, Al-Qadim Muhammad, LJ Collier, yeah, Robert Quinn. I'd be cool with that too. Linebackers, you got some guys here that are lower end, more depth pieces that we can bring in. I would be cool with looking at someone like a O'Shane Ximines. Not old, not young. He can do some things for special teams. You got some speed in Jabril Cox, former Cowboy there. So when I see this, like, we could probably make some decent moves here. Middle linebacker, like I was just talking about, we were going against a beast in Marquez Bell, right? Kendricks is there. You're looking at a guy who's asking for $8 million a year. It looks like for 4 years for Marquez Bell. That would be a sweet deal right there to really hold it down. But Deion Henley is not a bad player, right? We couldn't bring back Nick Neiman, so that might be just some more depth pieces there to kind of bring along the way. But I really don't think we have to get too crazy in this spot. But I am a fan of Marquez Bell. That guy flies around. Now, this is another guy here, right? He's 28 years old, has some injury issues. You got another guy right behind him who's 25 years old. He's got more of a, he's all speed sometimes and kind of over pursues. But having someone like a JOK on this team I think could really solidify this team in a really good spot too, because you have him, Sion Takitaki for another year. You got linebackers that we could potentially draft this year as well. So I don't think this is bad. You know, if we were to make a move like this, it would require some trades. But what I'm seeing right now is we got some really good pieces. Now, the one spot I'm not as worried about is my corner spot. Deion Leonard, Jaceer Taylor, Will Drew. Those are guys behind Max Melton and Asante Samuel that I think our group is set there. So we have to decide on some things prior to us making a decision in these spots here. So we're gonna have to think about two key players that are on our roster that we might be able to flip and potentially bring in some other guys. So when it comes to the salary, we have to think about what is out there, right? Now, Derwin James is a huge part of who the Chargers are. And every year he's had over 100 tackles when he was healthy. When he's healthy. Last year he had 8 tackles for loss. He had a sack and only a touchdown. But the guy had 13 deflections. Go back to so in 2024 he had 127 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 interception. He had 2 forced fumbles, 8 pass deflections. That's a pretty good year for a good veteran safety. You also have to take into account that he played 1,088 yards. So he played a ton of downs. So when I see somebody like that, I go, do you let him go? He's 29 years old. And do you take the fact that you eat the $22 million now and then save 5, but at least you have the $22 million. You know, you eat the $22 million now, you save 5 this year. You split the penalty between this year and next year. Just an $11 million cap hit. That could give us some room here and really help us out for the long haul. But the big one right now in question is truly one guy right now that would really help us out. The only one that would give us more savings than a penalty, and a guy that honestly has underperformed in these last couple years. Joey Bosa did end up with 9.5 sacks, but as you could see, that is not the best. He had 12 in 2017, 11 in 19, and 10 in 2021, 10 in 2016. So I can only anticipate potential decline at this point. He also played 914 downs, so almost 100 downs less than Derwin James. So what do we do with Joey Bosa, right? He's a big factor to this team. If we were to trade him, what would that look like? Well, off the bat, you got somebody like the Denver Broncos who would be willing to give you pretty much a huge haul. In my opinion here, the Denver Broncos, you know, they're trying to ask for what looks to be a Cortland Sutton to relieve some of the cap there. A 2nd round pick this year, a 6th round next year, a 6th round, a 4th round next year, 6th round, and a 7th round next year as well. You got the Cardinals saying, hey man, we just grabbed L'Jarius Sneed. We'll give you him and we'll give you a bunch of future picks. Future 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th with Sneed. That's not as enticing for me at all. We get like a ton of like some mid-round picks, late round picks, but we get a 2nd next year. I think that's fair for Bosa because he's on the last year of his contract, really hasn't really performed. Khalil Mack in 2019, he was like 27, 28. So he was 2 years younger than Bosa at 30. So I think getting a 1st round this year is kind of clean, but getting another 1st round doesn't make sense. So we're going to go a 1st, a 5th, 7th, 2nd next year, 4th next year, and a 6th. Let's see if that works out. And it does. So the trade has happened. Joey Bosa heading to the NFC. We wish him the best of luck. Like I said, we had to make the move. We get an additional 1st round this year, a 5th and a 7th this year. And we get a 2, 4, and 6 next year. So we got some picks collected now. The next guy I'm thinking about is Derwin James, but I'm wondering if we can make a move and get rid of another guy here. One person that I was a huge fan of, but I think we have to make a decision as far as getting our cap in order, and that might be right guard Robert Hunt. Now, the reason why I'm okay with this is I think we can move Pipkins to the inside, move Jonah to right tackle, and I think that helps us out and then gives us a chance to draft some other guys, or we maybe look at some depth pieces there. I'm a fan of Robert Hunt. I liked when he played, but my issue is when he plays. and it really hurt us when he was not there. He played 15 games out of 17, 965 plays. I thought he, like I said, I thought he played pretty good. He had only given up 3 sacks last year. So like I said, I think he's a pretty good player. Let's look at Connor Williams here. What did Connor do? He only gave up 1 sack last year. He played 14 games. So this is where we have to potentially make a choice here. Connor Williams or Robert Hunt. I think realistically, we could probably get rid of Connor before Robert Hunt due to age. He's 28 years old, so I think this could work out for us. I'm willing to try to trade him. Let's see who wants him. So it looks like the Chargers got some items. I'm not trading him to the AFC. It'll be a last choice there. Bears are trying to give us Khalil Herbert, a future 5th and a future 6th. You got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They need a center. They're trying to give us Joe Tryon-Shoyinka and a 6th round. Cards will give us Kazir White in a 6th. Atlanta would give us Tyler Boyd and a 7th, future 7th. Mekhi Becton from the Jets. Panthers would give us old veteran. I wouldn't do that. I'd probably so the Panthers and the Bucks. Those are 2 teams I would consider. Maybe even keeping them in LA. So the Bears definitely need a center. They'd still have $6.92 million in cap space. They're trying to give us Khalil Herbert. I don't see myself taking Khalil Herbert. That would wreck their team. They got Fields still. Fields is still working it out. They got MHJ on this squad. They got a good group. So we're gonna swap 4s. And I just get an additional 6th and a 6th next year. That gives us space. We now have 27 million cap space, and the trade is accepted. I think that's a good move for us. We got to figure out a center now, and we got to figure out how we're going to make this all work from a cap standpoint. That gives us a lot of room. And the last decision I am going to make here is with Derwin James. We're going to keep him, and we're going to restructure the contract, which gives us $7.79 million in cap space. That means Derwin's going to be here for the life of his contract. But now that just opened up a ton of room. So with that, right, we gave up 2 key players that helped us out, Joey Bosa and Connor Williams. 2 big players on both sides, on the opposite sides of the field here. Will we be okay? Will we be able to knock this out here? So now it's time to think about how we're going to get this done. So now with those moves that we decided to make here on our roster, it is time to start thinking about putting on some players here, putting players on this roster for this upcoming free agency situation. We got 34 million in cap space, which I think gives us enough room here to hopefully maneuver and maybe bring in some guys, right? So when it comes to O-linemen and stuff, I think we have to think about that last, because we do have Pipkins, we do have Jonah Williams, and we have Slater. I don't want to worry about the O-line yet, and I don't want to waste a center free agent right now. So let's think about some other positions here along the way. So to summarize, here are the players we decided to go for. With the trade of Joey Bosa and Connor Williams, we were able to make some room to bring in some other pieces to help create some depth. Our big blockbuster signing is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, former Cleveland Brown. I decided to bring in JOK because I think with him out there alongside players like Sion Takitaki, Eric Kendricks, Deion Henley, those are guys that can really do some work there. We'll bring in some potential depth pieces potentially in the draft. But JOK, Takitaki, and Kendricks can be a nasty, formidable group. We can also put JOK out there in the rush packages and just attack the QB on one side with Thule on the other. And Thule is on this team. I just realized. I just forgot about him. We have freaking Thule. So JOK, we could potentially move to middle linebacker and play alongside him. Maybe move Takitaki to the rush side. Rush package side, or Takitaki to the interior and JOK to the rush side. But either way, our linebacking group is in a very good spot for the long haul, man. This is a very good group. We brought in a veteran here in Odell Beckham Jr. He's a mentor, and with the guys that we have on our roster, they're going to need a whole lot of guidance. And my hope is that Odell Beckham Jr. can do that. We got him for a steal, no bonus. It's just he's coming here on a veteran minimum. We also brought in a player in Malcolm Kuntz. For me, it's more of his ability to have some decent defensive like edge traits, that my hope is that he can be a part of the rotation and hopefully, you know, show some success here along the way. I also brought in Chris Wormley, just a good veteran that can help us out on the D-line. With the trade of Joey Bosa, we can't assume that we can replicate a Joey Bosa. You know, we could have brought in Zadarius Smith, and we could have brought in Hubbard, we could have brought in other guys. It just didn't make any sense. So Jadeveon Clowney to do that. I think we could just try to fill in our pieces as best as possible and hope that our linebackers can get to the QB. With Connor Williams being traded, I wanted to bring in somebody who has some decent ability, and Robert Hainsey to me is a pretty good center with an 83 awareness. I think he can help us out. And like I said, it's more depth piece. Unique Ngakoue is also going to be on the edge there to help us out. Depth with Michael Ojemudia. He can play on the outside and inside with his height and weight. He's got good change of direction as well, and his speed, like I said, gives him the ability to play on the inside or the outside. And then I saw a depth piece here in Jabril Cox. I thought that was a good move. Now, as far as across the league, there were some moves that happened. Surprisingly, you're going to see some teams give up on some prospects. Jared Goff is going to the Carolina Panthers for a $135 million deal for 3 years. They got Bryce Young there. So it seems like Bryce Young is gone. That experiment is over. Baker Mayfield is heading to Tennessee. He's going to try to take over for Will Levis. And maybe he's going to have some success over there in Tennessee. Kirk, he's going to go ahead and sign with the Denver Broncos, as they do need a QB. Sam Darnold also heading there. Michael White and Jack Cohen also got signed. Now, halfbacks, Jaylen Warren going to the Cardinals. Mitchell heading to Minnesota. Chris Evans to the Packers. Rashad Penny to the Panthers. Those are some decent moves. Wide receivers, Amari Cooper is on the move, and he is going to New England. Mike Williams found a home in Carolina. DeAndre Hopkins has a home with the Jets. Rondale Moore heading to the Colts. That's a pretty good move. Tight ends, Conklin going back to the Jets. Tyron Smith's going to go ahead and be the new left tackle there for the Patriots. Dawkins, he leaves the AFC East team that he was on in the Bills, and he heads to another one there. And that's kind of hilarious how he is on that team now. Jedrick Wills going to the Titans, and along with Donovan Smith, he's going to the Lions. Joel Bitonio going to the Titans. So Baker's got some good veteran O-linemen there. Mitch Morse to the Steelers. Andrews heading back to the Patriots. Wyatt Teller going to the Buccaneers. Brendan Scherf to the Seahawks. Makari to the Titans. Havenstein's going to go to the Commanders. Brown to the Titans. Wow. DeMarcus Lawrence, he leaves the Cowboys and he is going to Washington. What a move. Khalil Mack heading to the Jets. He got his money. The veterans did, man. And then look at that. That's actually a pretty cheap deal for Zadarius Smith. He's going to the Lions. Yetur Gross-Matos, we couldn't sign him. He's going to the Giants for a $23 million deal. Grover Stewart to the Texans. Ark Armstead going to the Bears. Bruno Ford to the Patriots. Derek Nottie to the Jets. We are now at the draft for the 2025 season. We've set up our board based on certain positions of need. The positive is we got a decent amount of picks this year based on the moves we made with the trade of Connor Williams and the trade of Joey Bosa. So those are huge components of this team. Good veterans, but we felt it was time to move on. And now let's see if we can find some future stars. When you look at this team here, there are definitely different thoughts about what we can do to upgrade both the offense and defense. When we look at the offense first, I'm definitely thinking about depth pieces on the O-line. Salyer and McFadden have done well, and Jonah Williams has actually had a decent amount of time in the starting lineup due to injuries of either Taylor or Pipkins. But what that tells me is that we probably have to look at potential tackles in this year's draft, along with maybe a couple more interior line options. I'm thinking about maybe another center behind Hainsey, or maybe a guard that can play kind of all three. So if we snagged up 2 guards, then we can have them play multiple areas. But I am looking at probably holding 11 players on the O-line this season due to the injuries that we encountered last year. We also had tons of injuries at tight end, and right now, technically, we only have 2 tight ends on this roster, Brock Bowers and Irv Smith. Camp Moyer has been our starting fullback, and he's done a great job, so I don't see myself moving him to tight end for the long haul, but I could see him playing tight end 3 if we need be. The wide running back group is definitely something to also think about. Tyler Algier got hurt at the most opportune time, and I think that maybe grabbing another running back in this year's draft could help us out too. Spiller and Ali played pretty well, but maybe we'll see something different here. And we do have Cody Schrader on the team too, so maybe he ends up surprising everything. The wide receiver group is honestly pretty decent right now, if everyone stays healthy. But what we've seen in the past, though, with like the injury of Mike Williams, he got hurt on 2 lengthy injuries in the middle of the year with a hamstring tear, and then he gets a knee cartilage tear right at the end of the year. So we never had a chance to use Mike Williams really after I believe he played the wild card, but we didn't see much after that because I think he was out in the middle of that wild card. So knowing that, wide receivers also in play. We do got some guys from the practice squad like Thrash, and we did bring in a veteran like Odell Beckham onto this roster to mentor this group, but we may have to consider continuing to replenish this wide receiver core. The quarterback group honestly is okay. We got Dugan and Cunningham, so I don't see myself making moves in that space. When you look at the defensive side, right, we got rid of certain players here or couldn't sign them. So we only have 4 safeties. And Darnell Savage and Derwin James are the main components of the team, but we don't really have much after that. JT Woods played okay. And then we got a practice squad player here in Lane behind Derwin. So safeties could definitely be in play with one of the 11 picks that we have in this year's draft. Linebacking group is definitely thin. We decided to keep Eric Kendricks here, and he's going to be like an 73 overall after these updates happen. But with Eric Kendricks, though, the concern that I have right now is after he is gone, what happens, right? Now, Thule, he lost his spot due to the acquisition of JOK. It doesn't necessarily mean we don't like him, but it is something I am paying attention to with Thule. I'm going to have this guy play wherever I can right now in different spots. But Thule could potentially be the heir apparent in the middle linebacker spot along with Deion Henley. But that also tells me I need to bring in more linebackers in this year's draft. When you look at the cornerback crew, I think it's the strongest that it has been in quite some time. With the acquisition in this offseason free agent market in Ojemudia, I think that gives me a decent amount of players that can play on the outside and the inside. Darius Rush being one of them, but we got Will Drew, Deion Leonard, and Jayceer Taylor. So I got a good group of corners, but there's nothing wrong with maybe seeing one that could fall in this year's draft. I got a decent amount on the board that I think could, if they make it to us, we could take that shot. Now the D-line definitely is in need of some help, right? The only people that are back now are players in the interior, Tyler Tart and Tavondre Sweat. You have a practice squad player in Perion Winfrey, but that's pretty much it. So the interior line is set, right? We got Ogbonio and we got Covington, but they're not the necessarily end-all be-all. We have to think about what happens if we decide to, deal with potential injuries. The defensive end is kind of just, duct taped due to the loss of Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. So I brought in some veterans like Kuntz and Wormley, but behind them, you got Yannick Ngakoue. The rest are practice squad players in Upshaw and Matlock. So defensive end is definitely something that I have to think about in this upcoming draft. When I look at the specialist packages, I currently see some really good things. We got Eric Kendricks and Taki in the interior sub linebacker spot. Then we got Thule and JOK on the edges, and with Tyler Tart and Sweat on the interior rush package. So this would be a very nice group if everyone can stay healthy. But as we've experienced in last year's season, that was hardly the case. We lost a lot of people throughout the year, and it was very tough for us to deal with. I'm glad we won, but it was a hard-fought fight throughout it. When we played against the Ravens, we had like 7 people out, and you could definitely tell what happens when you don't go full strength against some of these teams that when you have to. I'd say Quentin Johnston has solidified himself to be a good slot receiver, and he actually had a really good year last year. I can see myself drafting some wide receivers this year, but he had a really good year. 72 receptions, 975 yards, and 5 touchdowns. A lot of that exposure came about due to the injury of Mike Williams during the year, but that's not his fault. You know, he did a good job, and I'm hoping he can keep moving forward and perhaps end up being the wide receiver that everyone hoped he would be. So knowing that this is an auto-generated draft class, right? There is no there's no person that's no real person on this roster, on this board. So, you know, I had to look at these players based on their traits and really think about, you know, outside of their names, who could I lean on? And there's some pretty good running backs that are on this roster here. I'm definitely looking for some bigger guys. The height isn't the issue. It's more of the weight to take some of those big hits, because we're going to need that running game to continue to stay strong with the wide receiver group not as strong as it once was. We have wide receivers that I'm looking at that, you know, maybe they fall to us, maybe they don't. But I do have them in a way that they are a mixture of some height and weight that I really like, whether they're taller, bigger, more physical, or just an overall playmaker or speed guy. So, you know, I didn't put too many people on the board. I only have 7 players on my board here for wide receivers, but you know, if they fall into the right spot, you know, I will continue to focus on BPA. The tight end group, right? We only have 2 tight ends, so I definitely have some guys, you know, by day 2 and day 3 that might work out, and I think they all have some traits that I'm really looking forward to. The main focus for me, though, with the tight end 3 is having someone with good run blocking ability, and that's what I focused on with the prospects that I selected. As I talked about earlier, you know, we're looking at O-linemen, and I'm trying to look at drafting an O-lineman early, a tackle specifically. There's some interior line that if they fall in place, awesome, but I am definitely looking at some O-linemen here that could work out for us, but there may be an option for us to move up in the draft to grab the guy that I want. Now, the main tackle that I am looking at in this year's draft is Mr. Telvin Murphy out of Texas Tech. He's got an A awareness, A impact block with an A run block. He's a good age. He's 21 years old. He's strong as heck. He's a big guy. The thought of having someone like Telvin Murphy on the team to me is huge, because Jonah Williams and Trey Pipkins aren't the end-all be-all. And potentially on my end, I want to make sure that we continue to infuse more talent through the draft in the O-line. I think this year they're probably going to be better when it comes to the earlier rounds for the tackles and the maybe day 2, day 3 for the interior line. So, you know, we'll see what's up. I like some of these guys, all of them, you know, better, you know, further up the draft they're better, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're the end all be all. It's a gamble for any draft pick that you have. You know, I look at the defensive end spots. There's some pretty good guys up front, but then I also looked at some guys here in the later rounds. Not so much a focus on the combine, it's mostly traits. You know, I look at someone like Randy Thurston, who's got an A power move. I'm looking at somebody like Evan White, who is a B finesse. And he's got C block shed and potentially a C power move. Steven Mason in a day 3 situation's got B power move. So these guys are very specialized. You know, for the day 2, day 3 kind of situation. Now, Eduardo Roman is a player that I am looking at. Maybe that is someone I can leverage for my one of my 2 first-round picks. But Eduardo Roman has some good traits that I really like from a height and weight standpoint. But Gerald Bonds is not too far from him. 6'6", 274, big dog there. You look at other guys here in the day 3 situations, or even potentially a UFA. You know, Byron Camp, maybe one of my last picks. B block shed, so maybe he's a project that can help us out down the road. Interior line is, you know, it's still something I want to perfect there. And I got some guys in the early rounds, but I also got some guys in the mid rounds to day 3. And what I liked about this guy here in day 3 is Nate Burke. is that he's got a finesse move. So he's a different type of defensive lineman that is much different than the guys that I have on my team right now. So if we can leverage him, you know, with his ability or skill of a finesse, and I think we can leverage him for maybe some of those rush package substitutions. Linebackers, I got some guys in the day 2, day 3 range that to me could also, again, be some good guys for special teams, but also some guys that can help us if for some reason some injuries were to occur. I'm looking at all levels here of the outside of the linebacker range, outside and interior linebacker. And some of these guys here that are in the interior linebacker draft, I could see them potentially playing on the outside, like a Deontay Witherspoon or a Christopher Bernard. So I look at guys with like zone coverage and stuff too. So just a more versatile group there. Corners aren't a finished product, but you know, but I definitely didn't put too much emphasis here, as I just found some guys that had some good speed but good traits. Alex Benson is one of them here, who's projected to be round 1 and round 2. I can craft this guy into whatever I would like: B man coverage, B zone coverage, B press, A catching. This is a guy that can play on the outside and inside. He's not as agile. His change of direction's only good, but look at his speed there, 4.36 in College Pro Day with a 4.41 during the 40-yard dash. Now the safety group is definitely something that I'm looking at, right? You know, we don't have really much after Darnell Savage and Derwin James, so I want to make sure we continue to invest into this area here, and this is where I'm looking at certain guys. And one of the guys that I wanted to focus on this year was Jay Crawford out of Alabama. He's got an A hit power, B tackle, B zone coverage. Guy's fast, guy's great change of direction. I think he can learn some great things with Darnell Savage, and with the B block shed, that was appealing for me. Jalen Whitlock, also similar. Change of direction is not great, but he had a great combine and pro day. So as you can see, I have some guys in the early rounds that I will be looking at for free safety. Strong safety, I got a little bit of a mixture, and honestly, I think I can probably leverage Derwin James for a little bit longer. I think I have him for one more extra year where we can decide to trade him or to hang on to him. I think with the with the Chargers, it's good to have a good veteran in the safety group, and Derwin James, I think if I had to choose, that's why I had to choose who is going to be, you know, potentially a Charger for a longer time. Is it going to be Bosa or Derwin? I saw both Derwin more than Bosa, to be honest. Bosa just didn't feel like a Charger for life, in my opinion. So we got some good guys here. I think we got a good draft board. You know, when it comes down to it, I got 83 players on my board, so I got plenty of picks to make it work here for this one. Now we do have a plan if for some reason, if we're able to get the tackle that I would like, or a tackle in general. Knowing that we have Jonah Williams, there's a chance that I could see myself trading Trey Pipkins. He's on the last year of his contract. This would also give us a little bit more maneuverability in this upcoming year due to injuries. He would save us about $6 million if we were to trade him or release him. And there were two teams that I went ahead and looked ahead of time to see who wanted him. And one was the Texans, who currently do not have a right tackle on the board. When I look at where they stand and what they were drafting, they weren't looking at a tackle. So I'm wondering if we were to trade Pipkins, maybe we can get like a 5th rounder for him, or a 6th rounder for him, and maybe another future pick, and move on from him if we get the guy we want. When you look at the Rams, they just want something better than Warren McClendon. I looked at what they were trying to draft. It was, again, a different type of player. I think it was a free safety. So if we can get some picks from them, I don't think that would be bad. They got like a 6th round. They get a couple 6s here. I think would probably work for us is for Pipkins. If we ended up getting the guy I want, I think I would probably go for a 2026 4 and a 2027 4. So 2 future picks for Trey Pipkins can work out. Now, we don't necessarily have to trade Trey Pipkins. I could potentially trade Jonah Williams. Last year, though, I thought he had a really good year. He only had 1 sack given up out of 510 downs. So he played 16 games, and I think he did pretty well. So when I see someone like Jonah Williams there, I think we could make a move for with him. And maybe there is somebody that would like to go for him. And oddly enough, there is no trade package for Jonah Williams, so we wouldn't have that. That's why Pipkins is the right move there. And it works out for us from a cap perspective as well. So now that I've discussed my board, discussed where we're at, I think I've discussed just my overall plan and analysis here for this upcoming draft. Let's get to it. Let's get it going here and let's see what happens. What we may do is look at the entire draft depending on how I feel. But we may just kind of watch it along the way, knowing that I want to move up and down this year with 11 picks. So the Cleveland Browns are the #1 overall pick. They have Deshaun Watson on this team, and they just haven't done so well this year. Who do they take to start this off? And with the #1 overall pick, they go after a corner in Terrence Traynor. This is kind of nuts. They got Denzel Ward. They got some really good corners on this team. I think Newsome as well. So I think they're just trying to replenish it, knowing that they have some injuries, and there's a chance based on cap that they may be able not be able to keep everybody. For the Tennessee Titans here, they're going to go after a right tackle. That's the best tackle in this year's draft, in my opinion, in Trey Glass. This guy had all the traits. I thought about trying to move up, giving up picks. I would have had to give up an entire haul, probably a first round this year, next year, and like multiple picks this year. Along with next year as well. So it would have been a hassle to try to grab him, and most people don't really move up that far for a tackle. Cardinals are up here, and they're going to go ahead and take a quarterback. Now this one's surprising to me, right? When you look at the Cardinals, they got Kyler Murray still. They got Clayton Tune on the roster, but you do have Kyler Murray. Why would you make this move? They still got 4 years left on the contract. So if they were to trade somebody like him, it would be quite a bit. And it looks like it would be a nasty hit to send him off to another team. But maybe they decide to do it, right? Any of the people as far as staff and back office that wanted Kyler Murray are no longer there in this series. Gannon didn't last but 2 seasons, and he's no longer there. So with the new regime, maybe they're going to roll with the new guy here, and that's a top five pick there in Cole Matthews. Commanders are up, and they go after the best wide receiver this year in Darrell Cheek. This guy is fast, and he's big. He's 6'2", 230, and he's considered the best wide receiver in this year's class. Commanders getting real strong now, but they've been in the top like 10 picks for quite some time. And maybe they'll figure it out. They can get it all right. You got the Steelers here, and they're going to go Trent Hutchins. Not a bad move for them. They continue to focus on the defense. TJ Watt and Highsmith aren't getting any younger, so maybe they found something there in Hutchins. Colts are up here, and they're going to take right outside linebacker Zach Dunn. That's a pretty good move for them. They get an opportunity, right, to continue to upgrade that defense. I think their wide receivers and the offensive weapons are pretty clear, but maybe they'll figure it out with that pick there. Patriots finally pull the trigger, and they grab a guy out of North Dakota State in Gary Springs. They need a quarterback. Mac Jones never worked out. I think they had just a depth piece there at quarterback, so maybe they found their guy there in Gary Springs. Panthers are up, and they're going to go after Cameron Meadows. I think that's not a bad move there. They made some changes, right? They don't have a defensive tackle. They got Derek Brown on one end, and they got Janarius Robinson on the other. So their D-line needs an entire tweak. So that's not a bad move for them. It looks like they're going to have to grow this front seven quite a bit, as they're sticking with Bryce Young in this year's throughout this year. Goff, I think, was added to the team, but I removed him because I just didn't think realistically made any sense to bring Goff to the Panthers. Seahawks are up here at pick number 9, and they're going to go ahead and snag up Eduardo Roman. So that was the top defensive end on our board. I didn't realize how freaking early he was projected to be, but that's a good move there. Seahawks continue to focus on defense with the new regime. Virgil Newton was also on our board. He gets snagged up by the Jets. You got the Texans going after Nick Peppers. That's considered the best guard in this year's draft. Bears are up here at pick number 12, and they go Devion Burton. You got Evan Teague, left tackle, heading to Detroit. The Buccaneers go ahead and snag up outside linebacker Archer. Man, there's a lot of linebackers going in this year's draft. Matt Phillips, that's the second corner, I believe, taken here. He's going to the Bengals. My favorite team, the New York Giants, take Steven Shepard out of Kansas State. He's a little smaller receiver, but maybe they're focused on just like those speedy guys there. Ricky Beacham out of Alabama. He is going to the Packers, so maybe they decided to pivot, right? They were not projected to go after a tackle, and they're going to go after one now, and maybe this is the heir apparent to Bakhtiari, who is still in the league in this series here. Broncos are up, and they go defensive tackle Matthew Carey. That's who was projected to be mocked to the Packers, but it didn't work out. So now the Broncos get the advantage there. Saints are up, and they're going quarterback. So that's another quarterback taken here from a team that definitely needs a new one. Ronnie Hitchens out of Louisville is going to New Orleans. The Niners are up, and they got Daniel Tolley. You know, I'm thinking about this right here. This is around the range where I'm going. They go defensive tackle. The Eagles, I think they need a tackle. So I don't see them trading out of that. But they're going to go Lance Jackson. That's one of the guys I wanted. So he didn't fall to me. Bills need a tackle. I don't see that happening. Then they do. They get Telvin Murphy here. That hurts. That is one of the guys I wanted. So it looks like tackles are falling off the board here. So the decision of us keeping Pipkins is probably going to be the case here. Hayden Howard heading to the Jaguars. There's a wide receiver from Texas Tech. You got Levi Elling heading to Miami. You got the Raiders going after Alex Benson. And then with the 26th overall pick, the Vikings go after a quarterback. They go ahead and get Taylor Banks here. That's not a bad move for them. And we are up. So we got 2 picks, right? We were able to get a first-round pick from the Falcons this year. And as much as I would like to grab anybody, we got to see what's out there. And it looks like there's 2 players here that aren't on our board that are currently out there. I think it makes sense. Eric Bayless. He's 6'6", 330, good size. A little older, 23 years old out of Georgia. But I think this fits us, and it gets the guy that we can have, and this gives us an opportunity and flexibility later in the draft to maybe trade Pipkins. Hidden Dev, baby! 89 strength, 68 speed, 76 acceleration. So a good play here for us. I think this gives us a guy that could really help us out. And gives us more opportunity there. Maybe we decide not to draft or trade Pipkins. We got 4 O-linemen now that I can lean on. I definitely, though, knowing Bayless, we traded for him or drafted him, we might end up moving him up over Pipkins and just having Pipkins as a potential backup. He may not like that, which means that there's a chance that we could probably move on from him within this draft. But that's a great move for us, and we get an opportunity here to maybe get flexible with pick number 32. So I think that's what we're going to do here. We're going to snag up Gerald Bonds, 21 years old. He's 274, but he's a bigger end. He's a bigger kind of guy. I think this could really help us out, man. Coming out of Washington. Welcome to the team, Gerald Bonds. Another hidden dev, 86 strength. Like I said, he was not as fast. He's a 4'8", so 79 speed, 81 acceleration. But this is another guy here that can help us out. More youth, and maybe we found a future defensive end here that could replace someone that we lost in Joey Bosa in that trade. The snag of our new guy here. Pipkins probably wants to play for a team that wants to use him immediately. The Rams went free safety. So I think for us, it makes a whole lot of sense here to go ahead and trade him. They need a right tackle. So in my opinion here, they also need some picks. So we're probably going to go a 4th next year and a 4th in 2027. Let's see if that trade works out. And it does. So Pipkins is heading to the Rams. We don't get any picks this year, but again, it gives us an opportunity to take advantage of the salary now, and it helps us out, and the Rams get their guy. We're going to go ahead and grab the guy here that I think could be a difference maker, help out the tight end group, and be pretty nice. It's actually Zay Wright. Yeah, it's Zay Wright, not Quincy Stark. It's actually Zay Wright. Zay Wright, he's got elite agility, great speed and acceleration with great strength. I think we can help him become and teach him to be a better run blocker. But this is a very good player for us out of LSU. Left-handed, 23, a little older. But I think, again, we get more versatility in a linebacker spot. It helps us out for the long haul. Another hidden dev, 85 strength, 85 speed, 88 acceleration, 76 strength, 86 speed, agility there. So this is another tight end that can help us out. If something happens to Bowers, like I said, Bowers was out a couple games, and we had to lean on somebody else. Irv Smith is kind of more of a backup, but Zay Wright could really do some good things here. So I'm happy about this. This is a good move for us. It gives us the opportunity there to lean on some more guys here. Now, I don't see myself trading up right now. There isn't anyone that shocks me. It would have been the early round if I did trade up. So we're going to start moving forward to our next pick. So I think this is a little bit of a reach, but I love the speed, and I got to take advantage of it. Adonis Graham, we couldn't get the speedy corner, so I think it's a great opportunity here to take, the next best thing on the offensive side, just another weapon to help us out. And I think he'd be nice. 95 speed, 92 acceleration, 90 change of direction. Hilariously, he's rocking number 4 like Worthy, so he won't be using that number, but this is a good move for us. Just another change, like a guy that can really change the scene there for us. I'd love to keep Quentin Johnston on the inside slot, so this is another guy that can play on the outside. Wow, so this guy is on our board, Dennis Hodge. Good speed on him. His shuttle is a change of direction is not so great, but this is a corner that we could leverage. He's 6'1", 208. Again, it's just more versatility on the DB group. Maybe we can move some guys that are currently on a DB group to the safety group to kind of help with versatility there. And I think of someone like JC or Taylor playing free safety or strong safety. I could see someone like Deion Leonard as well. So we could leverage this thing. This could help us out. We don't necessarily need a corner. We need more ends than anything else, or linebackers. But there's some day 3 linebackers that I'm cool with, and we got some picks there. So I'm going to snag up Dennis Hodge here. Again, it's speed. And I say, why the heck not? Let's grab him. 93 speed, 93 acceleration, 84 change of direction. He's got a normal dev, but again, I'm cool with this. This helps us out. Our defense gets better, and we're really taking advantage of the picks that we have. Now, we don't have a pick till late 5th, so let's see what happens here. Linebacker now. We need a linebacker. It's a run stopper here, and Miles Elam has all the attributes. Yep, this is another athlete here. I say, why the heck not? Be pursuit, be awareness. At a UCF, 6'3", 238. Welcome to the team, Miles Elam. 84 speed, 89 acceleration, 79 strength. This is another guy here that can help us out. We get a little bit more depth on the linebacker spot, and I actually feel pretty comfortable about that. This is a good thing. This is a 6th round pick, so we're not really getting too crazy, but the guy is fast. He's an athlete. He's going to be behind Derwin James, so it's not like we have to lean on him forever. Or early, so I think this is a good move. 90 speed, 88 acceleration, 83 change of direction with 88 agility. This guy could, again, learn by Derwin, and hopefully, continue to work through it. And I could see myself moving one of my slot corners to free safety as well to help out too. So the next pick I'm looking at is Andy Heenan out of Georgia. He's 22 years old, 5'11", 226. So he's kind of a shorter guy, but I think he has all the attributes that really help us out. And the main reason why I say that is he's got elite change of direction with elite acceleration. So this guy can get where he needs to go. Be awareness, be man coverage, be tackle, and potentially A to C zone coverage. So I think this can help us out. We can move him around in the interior linebacker spot or the outside if need be. But I think this is a good move for us. 83 speed, 91 acceleration right there. Again, that's like good pieces right here that can really help us out. And this gives us an opportunity to continue to find some special teams guys here as well. So we're actually going to draft Nate Burke out of our out of this one here for the last pick in the 6th round. This guy is a good mixture of speed and strength. He's a day 3 cat. His combine and pro day were amazing, but the main reason why I'm looking at him is that A power move, a very specific type of archetype here that we don't have on our defensive line. So he's 6'2", 287, a little smaller, but we can grow him and we can develop him, and I think this is a good move for us. Not the strongest of guys, but all the other attributes alongside that could really work and maybe develop, because Ogbonio and Covington aren't the future for us. And there you have it, baby. 83 strength, 70 speed, 81 acceleration with a hidden dev. So we got a guy we can develop now. He's going to be behind players like Devondre Sweat and Tyre Tart. So this is huge. His OVR might not be great, but we can develop him. We can work through it. So we've hit on some hidden devs this year, which I can appreciate. I think this gives us another piece right here on the halfback spot, because Spiller isn't the future. I'd like to keep Ali playing more of a maybe a power back role, or you know, the backup, true backup for Algier. But I think Sheffield just gives us another look. 91 speed, 93 acceleration, 88 change of direction, 71 strength. My hope is that this guy is more of a receiver that can help us out. But I think this sets us up for a good spot. Not the greatest carry, but maybe his carry is decent because it's D based on the overall draft class. I really liked Fedarian Kidd, who's considered a UDFA. He's got A pursuit, Z zone coverage, potentially B to D block shed. He's the strongest linebacker in this draft, and honestly not the slowest. He had a really good combine. This is another athlete that I could see helping us out and maybe giving us an opportunity to move some of our linebackers down to D end to help out with that space as well. His agility is not great. Change of direction is not that great, but like I said, what if we moved him down to D end and have him work, right? 6'1", 253, a little bit of a bigger guy, but this might help us out down the road. So that's the guy I was looking at. Byron Camp was another one, 6'5", 314, a defensive end. He's actually one of the stronger guys, kind of an athlete here. Slower, you know, I think it's the strength that was appealing to me. 23 years old out of Memphis. It's a different kind of guy, run stopper. Yeah, and it's 4'7", 4'6". We can move him down to defensive end. We'll do that at the draft, though. So that, oh, we got him. We snagged him up. Another hidden dev late. Quentin Kidd, 6'1", 253. So what we're going to do is move him down to defensive end. He's got an 81 speed with an 88 acceleration, 81 strength. He's a UDFA that I was like, man, he's got an A pursuit that I thought was really interesting. His zone coverage could help us out, so maybe we can put him in the rush package, have him play on the outside and just potentially play zone with need be. But I like the fact that we got a guy here that I can move around. It's just another tool, man. So we got so many hidden devs this draft that I'm pretty pumped about it. That's pretty awesome to see, man. So happy. You know, Fedarian Brackens ends up being the guy that fell all the way out of this draft. And I'm really interested in seeing where he goes. Maybe, you know, we'll pay attention to that along the way, or maybe we put him on our practice squad because he was on our board. So we're going to go ahead and sim the rest of this thing here. The last two picks are gone, but I thought we had an incredible draft. Let's see what the details tell us, though. So we looked at Eric Bayless, 73 overall, and then we decided to draft Gerald Bonds, who's a 72 overall hidden dev. He's got some good attributes. It looks like 78 tackle, 68 play rec, so those are decent spots. 74 power move, so we can grow this guy with the hidden dev. He's going to be alongside Unique Ngakoue, Kuntz, and Wormley, so he's probably going to get some playing time here, and I'm pretty excited about that. This is a guy that could really do some work for us, so let's see if he can work through it and continue to grow. It looks like a player will play above similarly rated bridge players on the depth chart, increase bonus XP during week training. So that's good. We can mold this guy into something here. Nice move there. We snagged up a guy here that was considered probably a reach in Zay Wright, but he had a hidden dev, man, and that was very appealing for me. 79 catching, 88 acceleration. This guy is going to be pretty nice for us. So we got Adonis Graham's outfit in order. Got his gear up, man. Welcome to the team. Another speedster there, which I'm pretty excited about. We then snagged up a cornerback here, Dennis Hodge, who's a 71 overall. Honestly, not a bad guy here. He's got decent traits. Press is okay. Man coverage is there. He is a scheme fit. So it just allows us to, again, lean on that spot. I don't like his number. We're going to update that real quick. See what that looks like there. I'd like to give him maybe like a 35 or something like that. We then went after a linebacker here. As you can see, it's a little bit of a reach. This is Miles Elam, 6'3", 238. It says it's a little bit of a reach, but what I'm thinking of doing, knowing he's got some agility stuff here, his block shed's okay. We then went after a strong safety, a 65 overall Carlos Conley, who kept falling down the board. And you know, I think we should have read that, you know, read the tea leaves there, that there was a reason why he kept falling. Right outside linebacker, Andy Heenan here, 63 overall. Again, a little bit of a reach here, but I think he's got some decent attributes. Heenan's 5'11", 226. We then snagged up Nate Burke here, who is a 64 overall. I am so pumped for a guy like this because he looks like a player that shouldn't be out there, but they said the same thing about someone like Aaron Donald. Now, it's not to say that he's going to be the next Aaron Donald, but man, would it be sweet, right? And I'd like to see if we can get this guy in a good spot here. We then snagged up Antoine Sheffield, right? Not the greatest of traits, but this guy's honestly a pretty big dude. He's got a 76 break tackle, which isn't as amazing. His carrying is a 72, so we got to watch that, but his catching is a 71. So when I see something like that, he's got a 91 kick return. We can use this guy for a couple different spots, have him be a specialist role. He's a bigger guy, though. I'm 5'11", so I didn't realize 196 on my body would be that much of a difference. I'm about 190, so like, I don't know, maybe I got my size a little bit big in spots that I shouldn't have. Maybe that's why. But you know, we got Antoine Sheffield here, pick numbers in the 7th round, and then our last pick was a big shocker, right? We snagged up Quentin Kidd here, who is a 71 overall UDFA. What a gem did we find here, man. Now, Quentin Kidd, he's got 85 tackle, 84 hit power, 71 block shed. When I see things like this with the 83 pursuit, I'm like, could we put him in the defensive end spot, right? Could we put him at right end? Because he is a speedster, or potentially a speedster. Could we leverage that? I'm wondering if we were to do that, though, how much of an impact would that be for him? Because I think we could develop him into something. He's got a power move here. We can grow his finesse and his block shed. So he could be he's a scheme fit, but this is a surprise for me. I'm so shocked that we found a 71 overall in the UDFA range. So we reached for some guys, and that can happen, but I think we found pieces all over the place. You know, snagging some hidden devs all over the board. It's going to be pretty fun to see what we can do here. As far as our division rivals here, let's see how the Chiefs did. The Chiefs actually look like they found some guys. They snagged up a free safety here in Jamal Person with hidden dev. The guy looks pretty scary, pretty solid there. You got a middle linebacker they snagged up here, another freak. So they drafted very well here at pick 29. They snagged up a defensive tackle with hidden dev. With no normal dev there, but then this is a guy here, Kerry Hickman, 5'9", 187. So speed, right? Like, we're always trying to figure out ways to outspeed each other. But they snagged up a guy here in Jeremiah Baker in the late 7th round here. That could be a nasty find. So we got to pay attention to that one. The Raiders draft, they grabbed cornerback Alex Benson here, hidden dev. Looks pretty good. You know, they got to continue to find ways to stop us and stop the rest of the division there. So they found a pretty good player in that one. Dwayne Horn, 65 hidden dev. So they found a hidden dev guy, but his starting point isn't as great. It's around the same spot as us. They grabbed a middle linebacker here in Charles Frost, kind of a reach, just like we had with Andy Heenan, but 2 rounds earlier. They found their guy here in Kirk Ward. What a find. 74 overall in this round, and they have a really good center now for the future. Good piece right there. They also snagged up John Childers, 68 overall, 6'3", 208. And then their best guy here in the late round was Brian Silver from an overall standpoint. So good corner. And these guys are getting really, really good. It's going to be pretty fun to watch there. Broncos had some picks here. Looks like they had no fifth, but 2 6s. They grab a defensive tackle. This was the guy who was projected to go to the Packers, ends up going to the Broncos as the Packers take the tackle over carry here. Not a bad move for them. He's normal dev, but that's a pretty good overall to start with. And then they get Jaleel Maxwell here. What a find. Free safety was definitely something I considered, but you know, with Darnell Savage on the team, I didn't want to over pursue that. I think you sign these free agents for a reason. 72 overall, Clayton Hill, hidden dev there, so they found some, another defensive tackle. So they're trying to grow that interior line there. So not a bad move. As far as the overalls, though, the best player on this, the top 5 players in this draft were the number 1 overall pick was Terrence Traynor, who ends up going to the Browns there. 94 speed, 91 acceleration, 90 press move, 80 zone, 81 man coverage. So he was the freak that everybody, that the Browns ended up snagging here. So they find someone who can be pretty nasty, and he's going to be an X factor. So Browns hit one there. You look at Trey Glass, right tackle. That was the 2nd overall pick, but the guy here was Gerald Cheek, 6'2", 233, 91 speed, 91 acceleration. Everything's in green here. They found a really nice piece from North Carolina State. You know, he was projected to fall, but he ended up not doing too bad, and he's a superstar dev, folks. So that is a nice find for the Commanders. Right tackle, this is the guy I wanted, man. Telvin Murphy. I was trying to think about moving up to gut him out of Texas Tech. He's a hidden dev, man, and it would be pretty nasty. It's a good thing for the Bills as Spencer Brown is no longer there, but I was hoping he would have fallen. He's a superstar dev, so the Bills keep being the Bills, man. That's disgusting. The next pick here was halfback Cordell Key. He ended up falling. He is 5'11", 231, so a very good size guy. 99 break tackle. Are you kidding me? His speed's not the greatest, but this dude's gonna break every tackle. Coming out of Ole Miss, you can get his speed up over time. 99 break tackle, superstar dev. Unbelievable, man. What the hell? And he was picked in the 4th round. The 4th round. And then the overall here looks like it's quarterback Gary Springs for the Patriots there. They found a good guy that maybe he ends up doing work. Who knows? You never know when it comes to these guys, but that's a good move for them. He ends up, he's going to be a star dev, but that's a good start for the Patriots. So pretty good. I think we did really good for us. Oh, there's Cole Matthews there. That was a bad decision. I don't know why they did that, but they needed a backup, I guess. Maybe they feel like Murray isn't it, but man. Interesting moves from all the, from all across the league. I'd say the first round, I was very shocked to see how many free safeties got off the board along with tight ends. I felt like tight ends were flying off the board. I didn't expect it. Was pretty surprised by it. Ooh, look at that. They found a hidden dev quarterback in the Eagles. So I'd say it was pretty nice. I want to see what happened to that early 2nd rounder in Rucker, I think it was. Yep, Rucker. Tommy Rucker is going to probably be the new starting quarterback. He's a 68 overall. Not as good as the other cat that the Eagles found, but that's the issue, man. So I think it was a pretty good year. The fastest player ends up going to the Giants, and it looks like the Jaguars probably have the better guy. 97 speed, 98 acceleration. So you got some fast guys. We snagged up one, but I guess the fastest guy is Hayden Howard going to the Jags. Brendan Kershaw is going to be heading to Seattle. The strongest player was Jimmy Wilkins, 99 strength. Some pretty good players there, pretty strong players. Best change of direction in this draft was Bobby Duvall and Shepard. So the Giants found a good guy too, man. Pretty cool to see that. Best receiver is Daryl Cheek, followed by Kyron Keaton. Best release is Daryl Cheek, Shepard. Man, the NFC East is going to go crazy. Best throwing power is Taylor Banks. That's kind of neat. Let's see here. Best block shed, Zach Callahan. Oh, no. Zach Callahan from the Dolphins. Oh, man. 80 block shed. Best finesse is Ernest Archer for the Buccaneers. Best power move, Trent Hutchins. He was a top 5 pick. Best man coverage is Terrence Traynor. Alex Benson. Oh, man. There are some guys here, dude. Best zone. Oh. And he got some guys. Okay. So that's a pretty good draft episode there. I'm pretty happy with it, man. We'll definitely get ready and head to the preseason. Maybe we have an episode on that. Maybe not. I kind of want to think through that. But this has been fun. I think the Giants are in a pretty good... the Chargers, excuse me, are in a pretty good spot. Once we go ahead and click this, let's see what it all looks like, right? So Bayless is here, and he's probably going to start. We're going to probably let Jonas start in the preseason just to get it going there. But I think this is a good move for us. The O-line looks like it's in a good spot. The wide receiver crew, you know, we didn't do anything there. We'll probably snag up something in that spot. The running back crew, excited to see what's going to happen there with our new rookie. As far as the defensive side, you know, you got Quentin Kidd, who's going to get some opportunity now with Thule. Thule's kind of moving around here. And we'll kind of see how that looks like, how that goes. You'll see the corner group is honestly still in a very good spot. The defensive tackle group, you know, we're going to see how that looks like. Gerald Bonds is probably going to get an opportunity to start. And we'll kind of see how that looks like along the way, but they're going to get some playing time in this upcoming preseason. But all in all, man, not bad. I really can't complain here. I think the guys did what they needed to do, and it's going to be fun to see how this team develops along the way. But that'll do it for us today, everybody. If you liked what you saw, please drop a like, leave a comment, tell me what you think, and most importantly, subscribe to keep up with the series. I am very excited for this next season here in 2025. If everything's successful for the Chargers, more than likely we will move on and head to a new team to rebuild and kind of continue to grow this series and you know, change it up. I don't want to get too bored here, but it's nice to see the Chargers get to the Super Bowl. If we can continue to do that, and maybe we aren't as successful, maybe we move on, giving ourselves a chance to develop another team. And I'd like to look at a horrible team, bad cap situations, just to see if we can do some good things over time. So I appreciate everyone that stopped by. And for now, everybody, bolt up. Have a good one.